Hello and welcome to another instructional video on the MiSTer FPGA system. This time we'll be looking at the Emerson Arcadia 2001 game console. This is the official MiSTer repository GitHub repository for the Emerson Arcadia 2001 system. This is the README page. As you can see, the general description says this core implements a game console with the Signetics 2650 CPU and 2637 video controller. This chipset was used in many game consoles such as Emerson Arcadia 2001 and the MPT-03. Well, it's two, not really many, but that's maybe nitpicking. Um, there are some others. I think there are definitely some others that use the same CPU, so it's not just those two. Although I don't know if the MPT-03 games are necessarily compatible with this core. There's some issues there. There's not a lot of README details here going on with that. So I got a little soapbox to get on about that, and it's actually hopefully interesting. But if you want to skip it, you can skip it. But I'm not. It's interesting, and you'll see down in the description. Um, it'll say what it is, what it's about. So if you're interested in it, you can look at that. If not, you can skip ahead. But before I do that, I would like to ask if you're so inclined, you feel like it. This is just a friendly little reminder if to go ahead and hit like and subscribe and hit the notification bell and leave a comment. Tell your mother. Tell your brother, whatever, your friends, whatever, if you got those, everyone on social media to take a look at these videos if you think they're useful. Okay, if you don't care, or if you don't even feel like doing it, you're like, oh, I don't feel like doing it today, fine, don't do it. It's fine. It's just a reminder in case you wanted to and you might have forgot. Believe me, I do that all the time and I forget, and and the presenter is like, oh, hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. And I'm like, oh yeah, I should like that and double check, make sure I'm still subscribed, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribes me from stuff randomly or whatever, or I thought I was subscribed and I wasn't really, whatever it is. Anyway, spent way too much time on that, but you got to do the business here. But I do these things for the benefit of the community is the real point that I do these. And I think if there are other people that'd be interested in these, it'd be great that they know, and they could see these videos too. So the more people that like and subscribe, the YouTube serves this to more people get to see it if they're interested, and so on and so forth. And if you tell people, like if you know people that would use it, that even better, right? But that's all that. So soapbox time, right? One of the things about this is you'll see there's not much documentation. This is in the official core, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, right? This is in the it's a quote unquote official one, right? Because in the repository. The thing that I kind of soapboxing about is a lot of times I'll hear people say, "Oh, I'll wait till it gets to the official core before I take a look at it." Um, well, the official core doesn't mean it's perfect and good and working right, and it's the greatest thing ever. Um, you know, so there are cores that aren't in there yet, like the 3DO. At least it wasn't at this time of recording, as far as I know, it's not in there yet. But it works pretty good. If you've seen my previous video on the work in progress ones, I show the 3DO and it looks good to me. It works good. A lot of those are like that. For whatever reason, maybe the developer wants it to be really, really good before it gets merged in, or whatever reasons. I don't know. It's you know people's how they want to do things. I'm not not judging or any of that stuff, right? But the thing that gets me, and it's people like, oh, I'll just wait. It's like, no, it's easy. You can go try it. That's why I did the work in progress videos thing. You can go try it. If you're interested in it, you can go find it and download it. It's easy. Go ahead and do that. And don't think that just because it's in the work in progress means that it's bad. It's work in progress, so it's probably not finished. So there might be issues, but there are issues with ones that are official in there too, like this particular core here, the Emerson Arcadia 2001. There are a few little issues with it, There are issues with the Odyssey 2 core. I think I had some problems running games that I know work in a real Odyssey 2, and they're not working on the core. So, that means there's some flaws right there. The Atari ST is kind of janky. The core itself is janky and locks up and things. I can't remember exactly. It's not just the games that have issues and things like that. The core isn't managed the way a lot of the other cores are. Um, so there's some issue there where it's not perfect, and it does crash and have some issues. I did have some, I believe, in the video that I did. There are a couple other cores that are still really good and have issues like the Sharp X 68,000 core. I am told I think there's some issues with it where it doesn't do like the CRT mode right or something like that. I don't use CRT mode, so I can't say for sure on that, but that's one of the complaints of that one and maybe the PC-88 one. I've heard that, although I think it's supposed to work or something, but you know, I can't prove it because I don't have a CRT set up with my MiSTer, so I can't say. But that core also has some issues, and if you saw my video, like one of the ones, I don't know that the sound was supposed to be so bad on the uh whatchamacallit game. I think it was like Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever, or Ghosts and Goblins, one of those. I think it was Ghouls and Ghosts that I played. It's been a while since I did that one. But the sound was really not good. And I don't know if that was the core or something else, but that game didn't work the last time. There was an update and now it works. But there are several games that just don't work. It's one of those things, either the game works or the game doesn't work, because of whatever it uses. So there are cores that are, official that aren't complete. So don't think that's my point. That's my point, and I'll put that in the thing is just because it's in the official core doesn't mean that it is 100%. Just because it's in the official, repository doesn't mean it's 100%. And just because it's not in the official repository doesn't mean that it isn't good. It may not be 100%, or maybe just something that someone did on his own, and that's why it's not in there, for whatever reason. And you can still download it separately and install it and run it and have fun. There are some examples of that, like the coin op collection and the Hotego collection. Those aren't in the official ones, but the update all, you can just check those and download them. And there are other ones like that, like the one I showed on the Star Wars video, to get Major Havoc and I think Tempest. When I showed Tempest off and that sort of thing. Those are not, you have to download those. Manually, just download them. It's really, really easy. If you're interested in those games, just go find them, because you could be waiting months, years, or never. It may never get in there. And I don't. That's my thing, is I don't want people to miss out on things that they could have had if they would have wanted to. I mean, if they don't care, it's fine. You don't. I'm not. You know, forcing someone to do it, right? Just do what you want. But it's just one of those things that it always kind of, I get disappointed when people are like, oh no, I don't want it because it's not in the official. It's like, no, it might be good, or it might be a system you like. If it's not a system you care about, that's fine. But if it's something you're interested in, there are several ones that that I was really, really interested in, and I grabbed the early ones. And for me, it was just fun following the development of some of these things. It's like, oh yeah, this works except for this thing, and this works except for that thing. And especially as it was developed, development was going on, like with the N64 core, for example, and things like that. I was just following along and what have you. I remember when the PlayStation core was officially brought in. That was around the time I got my MiSTer, or a little before, or a little after. I mean, I think, and even that one, it had issues. There was like crashes and things like that. When it was in the core, in the official. So long story short, too late. That's my sort of semi rant about cores, and just people. So many people are just like, nah, wait, and it's just like, why? I mean, if you want to wait, yeah, I'm not, again, not forcing you, but it's just like, it's not hard to download a core and put it in there. If you got the RBF, you can go to a lot of them. They just drop them in for testing in the MiSTer Discord. And if you're interested, if you're not interested in testing, I get that. It's not like everyone has time to test stuff for everyone. and that sort of thing. But if it's something that you want to get an early check on, and it could be, months, weeks, years, or possibly never before it gets put in. And there are a few cores that I've messed around with, that I really, really like. And there's one maybe that I'll show it eventually, but I don't know when. I haven't decided yet. That's like it's not official core at all, and you have to manually download it and put it in and use it. It's not. There's probably a niche appeal to this particular core, but that one, it's not in the thing. So if you want it, you got to get that, and there's some other stuff. Um, but I've been rambling enough about this. Enough of that. It's too much, but I'm stopping now, is what I'm saying. And back to the Arcadia console. Let's see what the console looks like. Here is the Arcadia 2001, the Emerson Arcadia 2001, a picture of this. This is on Wikimedia. Just so you can see what it looks like. This came out in 1982, and it has these controllers, and it's got a keypad. It's one of those special keypad ones. And this is an analog stick, so it is analog. It's like a disc thing, and then you screw this in, so you can use it more like a joystick, but it's an analog directional controller deal thing, which is interesting. And there's some stuff that's gonna come up in a bit. And it's got these two side buttons on here. Now, in the research for this video, I did a lot of research to figure out what the heck was going on with this thing. These two buttons are identical. They do the same thing. And not only do they do the same thing, they both trigger the 2 button, is what they do. So, any game that has that like this button and this button and the 2 will always do the same thing in the game, because it is literally the same. As far as I can tell, I found a schematic that was done. I'll leave a link in the description on this. This is a really good website that is very exhaustive with information, and it's kind of hard to go down that rabbit hole and figure out what's going on. And I have not even gotten into the other, like the whatever it was that I said in the beginning here. Let me just click back to that, the MPT03. Like, I haven't even looked at that, and there are different versions of the Arcadia 2001, because I've seen at least 2 different models that look different in pictures, and there are a couple other systems as well that at least are very similar in hardware. I think there's 2 others, 2 or 3 maybe. So I'll leave a link. You can go into there. I'm not sure that all the games are compatible with this, because there's European ones, and this was the U.S. system, I think, originally, and there's different ones, and obviously the European ones would have to be PAL, and the US ones have to be NTSC, and I'm not going to get into the differences between those, but they're different television standards, okay? And like that. So there's a whole bunch of different things that there's a big rabbit hole. I'll leave the I'll leave a link in the description to the site that has a lot of good information on all the systems that are related to this, and good resources where I got some of this stuff. And I looked at the schematics of this and saw that, yeah, this does the same thing. This button does the same thing. So it was very confusing. I was trying to figure out, why is it not there in the control? Like, why are these buttons not in the configuration thing, right? Might be nice though to have them in there. When we get to the configuration thing, I'll show you. But it might be nice to have those in the config, so that you could, if you had some other, some controller that had these buttons on it, and you just wanted extra buttons for it, because that models the behavior of the actual device a little bit more, I don't know, accurately, or more realistically, more faithfully. That's the word. More faithfully. It'd be nice to do this, even though it does the same thing. This device has 3 buttons that do the same thing. Well, you can have your device have the 3 buttons that do the same thing. Now, a lot of these buttons here, right? Since these things do the same as the 2 button, you really need this keypad, right? Because you got clear and enter and stuff. And these are actually used a lot more in games than a lot of the ones that had keypads. Did not, they only used like a side button, and you select a 1 or a 2 or something like that. Um, A lot of times, several buttons will do the same thing, so it's not that bad. Maybe you can map it too, but you'd have to map it per game. That would be kind of tricky. So you really almost have to have an NTT data controller or some other controller with a numeric keypad on it. There are a few others that you could use with the MiSTer. That's the one I have is the NTT data though. So I'll show you that in a bit. Well, you can take a look at my video on controllers. I go over the controller there so you can see it, but um, I'll put a thing that shows you like what buttons I'm pressing. You can see it, and then um, it'll be somewhat helpful on this. Sort of semi-visualize what this is going on and what is happening and that sort of thing. And then there's buttons here, reset. That's just going to be your regular reset that you like how you would reset any system. So this button's not built into it on the controller. I mean, and then you got your select, your option, and your start, and those are into the system. And I will show you that in a moment. Let's see what else do I have to tell you about this. Okay, so we're gonna need to copy some files over. So I have some folders here all set. See if I can do this correct here. There. This is the folder I have where I have all the games that I have set up, which are all bin files. It's 66 items. I've already copied them over. Not like it takes long, but I have already copied them over. And I will show you the folder that they go into. So the folder they go into is this one over here, and I've connected to over the network. SMB is 192.168.0.105. That's the IP address of mine. Yours will likely be different. I will show you how to get the IP address in just a moment on when we go to the MiSTer. And then with the SB share, it's under SD card games Arcadia, and then you just dump them in here. So I've got 67 because I tried doing this one. It's a European one though, so I don't think it works right on the thing. But I'm not sure. I mean, it doesn't work right in the core. I tried it, but well, that's neither here nor there. Could be that because it's European only or something. Let's see. So yes, if you're using SFTP, it's going to be Media Fat Games Arcadia. That's that's it. Just copy them over into here. Boom, done. So simple switch over to the MiSTer, and you'll see that I have these two controllers over here set up. Now the one with the two little red triangles on it, that is controller 1, and the one without them is controller 2. Now in my hands is controller 2, as you can see, because these buttons are getting pressed, and I've got the global volume going on. A little pro tip, the volume here, you make sure it's not all the way down. Keep an eye on that in case you are messing around like I am here and accidentally move it or something like that and change it, that sort of thing. But anyway, let's go back to here is when you start up, this is the page that you're on, and you're going to hit whatever button that you have for back, and then you hit left, and then you can see the IP address here, which, as you can see, is 192.168.0.105. It's depending on your system, it can change on how you've configured it. That's up to you if you know how to configure it, keep it the same, and that sort of stuff. You know what you're doing with the local area network in your router, that sort of thing. Go for it. This is not the video to explain how to do that. So just there are too many different types of routers out there. I can't explain them and say this router does this and that, and that's a whole networking thing. So if you know how to do it, great. If you don't, ask someone that does. If you got a smart buddy that knows how to set this stuff up, ask them. If you don't, I don't know, ask somebody on Reddit. I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So that's it. That's how you see the IP address, right? Now I have these two controllers, and why am I using from controller 2? Well, that's a whole other thing. But I'll show you what goes on in this core. So to go to the core, you go back here. From this page, you go down, and it is under console, and then it's just down here to Arcadia, and this is It was updated. I think that's September 7th in 2025. So it's been almost a year now when that was updated. But this is one of the older cores, and I don't know how much of it was updated. If it was just um, the what do you call it? The framework or something like that. Um, I actually checked it, and the framework has not been updated in a while, or some of the bits and stuff. But that's a whole other thing. Whoa, what happened to my ah? That was weird. Something glitched. I started up the core, obviously, as you can see. These things happen, so it's fine. Um, but yeah, we'll see on that. I did take a look at the core and when it was, firmware was last or the framework was last updated and things like that. But that's a whole other thing. So we have these options. We have a load cartridge. We have swap joystick. We have swap joystick XY. We have, and I get the swap joystick is on actually. And we have aspect ratio original and then full screen, which this is one of those like if you do it this way, you're not cool. But if you want it to fill the screen, you can. It's fine. But it's not how it's supposed to be. Then there's this reset and close OSD, which neither of them I don't think actually work. And yeah, I have these normally. I think normally it's off. That's the way it's defaulted, right? Now there's something interesting in that joystick swapping. Swap joystick. No, it's still that. That's interesting. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. It actually does move it. That's interesting. I've not done it with the things that. All right, so let's load a cartridge first of all. All right, what are we gonna load? I'm gonna load. Let's load turtles because that's when I load. Because I've got a little thing. I've shown turtles on pretty much every system that it's on actually so far, other than like the tabletop one because I can't show that because there's no MiSTer core for it. Um, but there is one for Tomy. Tomitronic Scramble, but that's for another time. So let's see. Let's see. Reset. Yeah, I'm hitting reset here. It's not doing anything. I'm hitting reset regular. It's not doing anything. So those don't work. The cartridge is loaded. Let's go into here. So we have all these settings. These are the normal settings. Blah blah blah. Define Arcadia buttons. Okay. So and you can see which one I'm pressing down there. Right, left, down, up. Start. I'm gonna hit. I'm gonna use that one for start, and then A. Let's see. What's A? A is actually select. B is actually option. So took a lot of research at those ones that I showed you earlier. If you saw the bit where I pointed out the buttons on the console, that's what those are. Enter is going to be this one I'm going to use for enter, and then that's clear, and then because those are on the pad, and then we got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Do you want to set up alternative buttons? No, okay, but you can do that. Yeah, so that's set up. It was very, very confusing because it didn't tell me what A and B were. I was like, well, what's option? Where's the option button? Where's this? Where's select? A and B are option and select. And I thought A and B were the two buttons on the side, but they're not. So again, missing documentation. So we'll see. We'll see about maybe that can be improved. That's one of those things. That's one of the things you would think that you would have that before it gets into the official core. But anyway, I'm not going to rant on that. I already did, and you skipped it if maybe to get here. So I'm not going to talk about it more. But so that's that. So these are all standard things that come with any core. All these settings. It's just the buttons that it does define are different depending on the core. But that was very very confusing. I was just like, where's my A and B? I thought those were the trigger buttons and stuff like that because I'm not familiar with this system, right? But I do have at least a 10 a keypad controller. All right, so that's that. The cartridge is good. Let us. So now that I have the buttons defined, get me out of here. So the button's defined. What did I define as start? The real start is this one. So that'll start it. And we'll see what goes on here. Yeah. Oh, the controls are weird. Whoa, let's see. Let's swap joystick XY. Turn that on. And now it works fine. Now, I don't know. Maybe there are some games that work that way, you know, with XY. But we got a little problem here. That's pause, right? Anything in this row is paused. Anything in this row is unpaused. That's not in the row. That's pause. That's unpause. They're a little bit backwards, but you know, since C stands for clear, you know, it's weird. The game's just keyed to anything in that row. It's a keyboard. It's a key matrix. So that's how that works. That's why it's like that. But you can't, you know, play the game because where's the button to drop a bomb? Now, I did once go through this without bombs and actually did complete the level. So I'm gonna see if I can do that now. If I can't do it now, I'll, I did record it, so I'll show you. Where am I? There. And yeah, it's a little bit cut off, but I had to show this. There, I did. Well, I didn't beat it yet because that guy's gonna nail me, but I'll get out. There's another truck in that one. If you notice this one, if you've seen the other videos, whoops. If you've seen if you've seen the other videos, or if you've seen this game before, these are trucks instead of beetles. There's like beetles or bugs of some kind instead of trucks. It could be something where that was an earlier design, and they used that, or they just changed it to trucks because they thought it made more sense. I don't know. So, so what is this weirdness? How do I get the controller switched? Okay, so, oh, well, if you look in the instructions, right? Let's see, can I pause? I'll pause it. Let me just mute it so you don't have to listen to that. Muted. There, you should, hopefully you don't hear it now. I still do because I'm cool like that. Okay, so let me go bring up something real quick. Okay, so I'm back on the desktop for a moment here. And we have, this is the instructions for Turtles. We have the right controller on the left for some reason, is how you lay the bombs. So uses the right controller, which is controller 2, right? Normally, that's configured as controller 2. And then the left one, which is why I'm getting the freeze and unfreeze, but I'm controlling it. Freeze and unfreeze, and here's the lay bombs, right? So I'm just like, I can't lay bombs, you know. And this is pointing to those side buttons. And it's only that one that lays the bomb. So this is the side one that does pauses. So I wanted to show you that. And here's yeah, there's just that. I don't think I need to show you anything more on that. So let's go back to, now that you know how the controllers work. All right, we're back on the MiSTer, and let's go to, well, let's swap the joysticks, right? And well, now I can't unpause it. Oh, I can unpause it, but I can't control it. Why can't I? I can't control it. Why? Because it just swaps the joysticks. It doesn't swap the controllers, the buttons. It doesn't swap the buttons. And the joystick on the one system, wait. So the joystick unswapped was using the right controller, but it was using the left controller to control it because it had the pause and unpause. I think you're supposed to use the left controller on this. Yeah, that's weird. 1 second. Okay, so here's instructions. It says, this is a one-player game. Use only the right-hand controller. The left-hand controller you use only for freeze and unfreeze. Well, then why is the stick doing the left-hand controller? And why is it working? It's weird. I think it's just messed up. Or maybe it depends on the game or something like that. And that's why we swapped. So we have to swap it. So now I'm actually controlling the actually am controlling the left-hand controller, and the directions don't work because I swapped it, right? No, I don't know. I get myself confused here. There's a demonstration mode too. If you press select, goes into demo mode, which is not the same as hitting start. But let me get back to it. Okay, so I'm back to it, and so I have to swap joystick XY. That's for the controls. The swap joystick is on, and it just swaps the stick, right? So let me see. I can reset. Right, that's select. Let's do start. Select an option. And a lot of games select like one. I think option does one player, two player, and then select selects the game or level. Yeah, see, it's not controllable now because the sticks are swapped. So I'm now actually using the left-hand controller properly as the way it's designed, where the left-hand controller does the what it was I just said there, does only the pause thing. Left-hand controller just does pause and doesn't do control. So swapping it actually makes it the right way. Now, I unplugged into controller 2, so I should be using, well, the second controller, which I would have thought was maybe the right-hand controller because left, right, I don't know. But whatever. So this is the way. This is the normal way that the controllers are. It's bizarre. It's a very weird. The controls are wonky and weird thing. But now the problem is now that I got that swapped, I got the controller in the wrong port. So I'm gonna have to physically change it. So I'm gonna move it over into the other physical port, and then you see the thing's clear, and now you can see it comes up. This is player 2. Oh, I guess it's whatever you push the button is player 2. So the first one you push is player 1, player 2. So it's player 1. So that really was the right controller? No, it still was the left controller with the problem is the buttons stay with the controller, and when you do the swap, it doesn't swap the whole controller, it just swaps the. It's so strange. Took me forever. I was actually using 2 controllers to try and figure this out. I had one. Now I don't have 2 NTT data controllers, but I have a regular Super Nintendo controller, and I plugged that in. So I was using that to do the directions, and then I was using this NTT one to do the buttons because the 2 button and all that to lay a bomb, right? And I couldn't press the other ones, only just 2 line. It's so crazy. It's partly the core. I mean, that's just weird. Like if you had real controllers on a real system, that's not how it would behave. Now being able to swap is nice. That's just an extra feature, right? So yeah, so I have to restart. Okay, so now I should have the control set up correctly. Let's see how that works. Yep, I can control this. That looks good. And I can press the 2, and it drops a bomb. I can press the 5, and it drops a bomb. I can press the 8, and it drops a bomb. I can press the 0, and it drops a bomb. Because the way the game works is anything in that column. It's only monitoring that column. I have a plan here. No. I thought maybe if I dropped one right there. Oh! It's hard to get away from those guys. Oops. Alright, there's 2 more turtles. Oh, come on, I got it! Ah, game over. I didn't even do... I did better with no bombs than I did with that. So that's, that's turtles, and that's how it works. But yeah, the game is... The controls are weird. I have noticed occasionally not certain. I've had noticed occasionally I've had problems with the game, with it actually loading the game in the ROM. Very rarely, but just occasionally, it would fail to load, and I would just reload the ROM, and it would come up fine. So that's something a little bit rough, with that. I guess there are a couple of ROMs that don't quite work. Like I think there's one that glitches up at certain points. I think SDF or something. And then there's 3D Attack that does not work at all in this one. Now, to be fair, that ROM wasn't even dumped until after this core was finished. So, um, it's probably some different mapping or something like that, and it wasn't available, so it couldn't be made to make for that. So that's something else that could be finished a little bit later. But that's again illustrating the point of just because it's in the official set doesn't mean that it's finished, finished and done. So that's just another point to that. And here's the demo mode. And I can show you that it is demo mode. Prove that by, doing the controls and seeing that they don't do anything. See, it dropped the bomb. I didn't touch anything. If I go right, see, it's not going right. If I go down, not going down, going up. If I press the button now, nothing. But I was pressing these buttons, and then this thing drops bombs like crazy. So I was thinking, oh, it's working, but it's not really working. So yeah, this is just some of it's like it's a weird system. Like it has this demo mode, this game. Some of it's like weird stuff with the core. Some of it's weird stuff with the games. But I just wanted to show you that demo mode too. Okay, let's try this again here. Let's load another game. So at the end. Hold on. Turn that back on. And this is the end. It was in hardware that used the same, was this basically the same as the original Scramble machine by Konami. And if they spell out end or the end, I think maybe it depends on the version. I can't remember if they actually have spelled the end in some of the versions. I think this one's just end. Then that's the end. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's semi-Space Invaders-y. But, yeah, I got this working here. I'll just play this a little, just to show you games, on the system. I think I already showed you enough of the controller weirdness. It's kind of neat. Oops. Game over. Alright, let's try... Circus, because I need to show you this. Now, let's see. Alright, let's see if I can show you the demo mode here. There. just to show you that it does have, you know, it's not the quantized 3 positions, and there is a gradient across the whole thing, just to prove that you know, it does exist as far as in the game code. This is the demo showing that. So yeah, there's a problem with it being non-analog sticks. It just doesn't work for this game. Possibly some of the control weirdness is it looks like this is a European game, and maybe the systems in Europe controlled it differently or something like that. Not sure. I haven't delved into that too much. I probably should. And that's one of the areas where this core, not the core itself necessarily is lacking, but the documentation is lacking for it. And that's part of the project I'm doing here, is to help, you know, help onboard people, so to speak. So, you know, that's why I'm doing this. And so maybe I can do something about the README files or something like that. We'll see. I have to put in a, you know, a request to get that updated. So just wanted to show you that. There's one more. I'm gonna have to switch back. All right, this is one where you can select the game. So you use select. See how the game is changing, and then this one changes that one, and then changes this one. It's kind of weird. I want game 8. Oh, see, it's weird how it alternates. It's so weird. I don't get it. That's hopefully you saw the buttons I was pressing, and it's just weird. Let's see, start. Yeah, see, controls aren't doing anything. So maybe I can switch to swap the joystick back, and it's not working here. So that does not work. Oh, I have to turn this XY off so I can go left and right. Now you'll notice there are 3. It's basically it's digital, so it's a quantized position, right? So it's this position, this position, this position. That's all you get, and you can't really. Let's see, these buttons aren't working now. If I swap the joystick, it doesn't work at all. So it swaps the joystick. I gotta swap them back again. You know, physically move them. Then I have to swap the joystick back. The system, it's partly the system and partly just the core is so weird. The core could be, you know, the core could be explained better, or maybe you could do something, make it a little bit more smarter, or tell you which games are which, so that you know what you have to do to get stuff to work. But this isn't going to work because I can't slide back and forth. There's more positions than just these 3. You know, there's that analog gradient, and it just doesn't control analog. So that's another example of this being sort of a, you know, not quite finished, or not or rough around the edges, if you will, kind of core. And again, this frustration I'm having with you know, these different settings and things like that. It's not just me. It is an issue, but I'm trying to explain them as best I can so that people can, you know, sort of enjoy the game better. But yeah, that one does not work. You can't really play it on the MiSTer. So unless someone can get the analog controls fixed, you know, where you could use an analog stick or something like that, you know, that's not going to work. And of course, the entity data controller does not have analog sticks, so you'd have to do something fancy with digital or something like that. Similar to like the way the Star Wars core does it. Although, you know, probably not exactly the same. Let's try to do one that actually works. Let's see, where was that one? Because was it Thor? Yeah, this is basically missile command. And this one, if you hit the ones on the right, it uses the right launcher, and the one on the left, the buttons on the left, it uses the left launcher. And you have missiles down there and such. So it's basically missile command, you know. It plays all right. Actually, could play a little bit better, in my opinion. Kind of difficult. I just missed that one there, and now I don't have any missiles on the on the left. I just realized that sound might be like when you're within range or something, but I know I had missiles left, so I couldn't. So this would not be my favorite way to play a missile command. Now I'm gonna get toasted here. I like the one on the Atari 2600. It doesn't have multiple bases from which to shoot. It just has the one at the bottom, and you can just get three, I think 3 stacks of 10 missiles or something like that. And that was weird. Oh, I'm out. As opposed to the arcade game, which has the 3 different buttons you fire from. But I think you get hit, and then it just knocks out all your missiles or something, and you get like a couple of rounds though, or a couple of. Look at all this. This is you can't even. This is like impossible at this point. It's only like round 3. Look at them all. Oh well. It'll be game over. But I played it on the 2600 as a kid, so I really like it. But I think that's all I have to show for you today. But bottom line is just because it's in the official, thing does not mean it's a nice polished core, and just because it's not doesn't mean that it's, you know, not worth checking out and playing. And don't be afraid to get. It's really easy to download the RBFs and just put them on your system, or use the work in progress core or the work in progress database, whatever repo, to get work in progress ones if you want to check them out. Obviously that's up to you and your preferences, but um, you shouldn't feel intimidated or like it's hard to download them or something like that. Like it's too hard to download them and put them on. It's really easy, so don't be afraid of that. Don't be intimidated. Um, and don't necessarily wait for it to be in update all or in the official repo, because it may not, it may not get there. There are some ones that aren't in there and some that may never be in there and stuff like that. And or it could be, a long time. And if you're interested in that game, it's good to know. And I did show some of those in some of my other videos. But that's enough discussing that sort of thing. I just hope that this has been either entertaining or somewhat informative for you. Hope to see you again on another video. Thank you very much for watching. Take care.